AbVi, happy Friday! I don't know if you know this, but today is actually David Tennant's birthday. It's also someone else's birthday. I don't know whose though. So today I want to talk to you about Voldemort and Umbridge. As you know, Voldemort and Umbridge are two of the most hated people in the Harry Potter fandom, books, things. Everyone hates them. It is agreed that everyone hates them. But for some reason, a lot of people have agreed that Umbridge is hated a lot more than Voldemort. But I've never really understood why. Voldemort did a lot more bad things than Umbridge did. Voldemort has killed people. Voldemort, I mean, to get down to it, I mean, everyone has compared Voldemort to Adolf Hitler because what they did was very similar. Let's face it, Voldemort tried to wipe out all the Muggles and Muggleborns and everyone who wasn't purebred or pure blood. Adolf Hitler tried to wipe out all the Jews. I mean, the similarities are quite large. Voldemort had the Death Eaters, Hitler had the Nazis. They're quite similar. Now, Umbridge, as bad as she is, who is completely evil to Harry and flat out a bitch, I don't think she's as evil as Voldemort. Now, I know what you're saying. Stevi, he made him write with the quill that made a scar turn in his hand that said, "I must not tell lies." Yeah, I know, and that was bad. I'm not saying she's a good person. Stevi, she held the trials for all the mudbloods and muggles who were married to pure-blood wizards. Yeah, I know, that's pretty bad too, but I don't think you're quite understanding how bad she is. Okay, stop! I know she's a bad person. I know your questions are flying at me. Trust me, I know she was a bad person. I read the books, I've seen the movies. I know. But here's the deal. What Umbridge is experiencing is very similar to what a lot of the people were experiencing in Nazi Germany. So, as we know, the Nazis were people that supported Hitler and followed all of his orders. Well, around the time that, of World War II ended and that the Nazis were beginning trials, a lot of psychologists took that opportunity to be like, wait, why did they do this? Like, a lot of them are saying that they didn't agree with the rules, but they did it anyway. Like, why did they do this? So they started a bunch of obedience and conformity experiments because they were curious. One of the most famous studies is the Milgram study. So what exactly was the Milgram study? Well, what Milgram did is he had two people in a room. He had two rooms and he had two people, a participant and a confederate. The participant was who they called the teacher and the confederate was the learner. So how'd this work? Well, what they did, they set the participant down in front of this big box with a bunch of little levers on it. Basically, it looks like that. And they had the confederate in another room. The participant's job was, I believe, to read words to the confederate, and the confederate then had to read the words back or memorize them. It was part of a memory learning technique. And if the confederate got a word wrong or didn't answer, it was the teacher/participant's job to administer a shock. Now these shocks went all the way up, I think, to XXX was what they had on the actual things that XXX on them. So basically what the experiment wanted to know was how far were these participants willing to go to shock this person even if they knew what they were doing was harmful. If the participant said that they wanted to quit or wanted to stop, the experimenter told him, please continue. The experiment requires that you continue. It is absolutely essential that you continue. And you have no other choice, you must go on. I think this is pretty similar to what Hitler said to the Nazis, or pretty similar what Umbridge heard from Fudge and Voldemort while she worked at the ministries? Probably. Now, I know what you're thinking. Stevi, I would never do that. If I was in that position shocking those people, I would say no. I would never hurt another person. That's cruel. If I knew someone was in pain, I would stop immediately. You know what? The data suggest otherwise. I believe I'm right in saying that over 65% of the people went on to the XXX, the deadly shock. Still think you wouldn't conform? Whether you'd like to admit it or not, a majority of the people continued to participate in the experiment even though the confederate or the learner was in pain and wasn't responding because we can assume the shock. Now, ethically, you can't do this experiment anymore. 3 guesses why, am I right? Okay, so how does this relate to Umbridge? Umbridge was told what to do. Umbridge was told to go to Hogwarts and order the Phoenix because Dumbledore was raising an army. She was told to stop what happened at whatever cost. She was told, the minister was counting on her to make sure that everything at Hogwarts was the way it's supposed to be under ministry standards. That's why she behaved that way. She behaved the way she did in book 7 because she was told that she had to behave that way, that she had to be completely rude and mean and just a terrible human being to the Muggleborns or the Mudbloods or the Muggles or Squibs, whatever they were. She was told that way. And she did it because someone of authority told her to. Yes, Umbridge is a bad person, and I'm sure to some extent, Umbridge believed that purebloods were the way to go. But do you really think that without that authoritative figure saying, do this, do this, do this, that she would have done all the stuff she did? But you know who did do that without the authoritative push? Voldemort. Voldemort was the person who told people to do these actions. Voldemort was the person who convinced people to do these actions. Voldemort was the person who said, do this and your life will be better. Do you not think that Adolf Hitler said the same thing to Nazi Germany? That's exactly why this thing's happened. The similarities are there. Umbridge was a bad person, but Voldemort did a shit ton more than Umbridge ever did. Voldemort took over the ministry. Voldemort killed Harry's parents. Voldemort indirectly killed a crap ton of people. Voldemort is a very bad person who wanted to kill all mudbloods and muggles and anything that wasn't pure blood, when this bitch wasn't even pure blood himself. Umbridge followed orders. See the difference now? Abby, I'll see you next Friday.